Today's video is brought to you by my amazing patrons on Patreon. Priority deck requests and extended discussions are just some of the many perks you get for being a patron. Consider supporting the channel today. Welcome back to today's build. Whether you're just looking for upgrades or have no idea how to build this deck, I'll be your guide to this wonderful game we all love. Let's get started. Today's deck is a Vexing Pest, not to be confused with Blex. Her name is Alela, and this is the Shirk and Smirk. Alela is a lot of fun, rewarding you for playing on enemy turns and allowing you to use your opponent's best creatures for your own fun. As previously discussed in our Kindred Strategies breakdown, Alela is a coincidence Kindred commander, where she doesn't actually care about any fairies we have in the deck, but by coincidence many of the best cards in the deck happen to also be fairies, which can make many fairy Kindred payoffs even more attractive. Furthermore, since goading creatures naturally lowers enemy life totals, the most natural win condition will be through combat. And with a token-making commander, going wide into an overrun or anthem spread is the easiest way to do that. So we'll be trying to build up a critical mass while controlling the board. First, we'll be cutting these cards. These Kindred cards are far too clunky for this deck. Bitter Blossom is cheap enough, but it's so slow to wait until your next upkeep for even a single creature off this, and it still can't attack that turn. Meanwhile, 5 mana at sorcery speed is too much to pay for the Archmage and Reflections, because that's mana we can't spend on enemy turns. Not to mention that this isn't even a payoff we really care about. When built right, we should be making way more tokens with Alela than we are by copying fairy spells. These cards belong in a quality Kindred deck much more than they belong in this deck, so we'll be replacing them with these cards. Next, I'm cutting these cards. Recon Mission and the Hippocamp both eat up a lot of mana on our turn, and cost us fairies, while Opt is so unimpressive that it may as well just be a basic fairy. We have better options than this, and we'll be swapping them in for the same functions. Lastly, I'm cutting these cards. For Alela, it's important that she only rewards our first spell on enemy turns. If we are spending this much mana on one of these spells, that's mana we can't spend on enemy turns for more fairy tokens. The Blightwing and Trickster also aren't exactly payoffs we care about. This deck should not be relying on one card in 99 to grant instant speed to its other cards. We should just run more cards that natively have that capability, and stealing from enemy decks is unlikely to help us since our strategy is so narrow. If we're going to spend this much mana potentially on our own turns, we'll play these cards instead to churn through the deck and more reliably hit every card we need in order to interact and overwhelm the board. So what do our lands look like? Apart from some dual lands to fix our colors, we'll be running Rivendell, Horizon of Progress, and Dreadship Reef. All three give us a useful outlet for mana in the event we held up mana for enemy turns, but would rather save that counterspell for something else. Next, I'm also running Sunken Palace and Spymaster's Vault. These lands can completely swing games for us in the right conditions. Since enemy creatures must attack, there is every chance we see enemy creatures dying during combat and can use Spymaster's Vault, while the Palace is a crazy way to copy some of our best spells and drive right into the win.
So what's our timeline?
We most want some early ramp in our opening hand to give us more mana to use later, or ramp out Alela as fast as possible, ideally on turn 3. Our best plays to follow her with are instant speed waste to cripple enemy strategies, so as to buy time for our token generation to take over the board. Once we've bought this time, it's time to accelerate our token generation, so as to need as little time as possible to find our win condition with these cards, before catapulting over the finish with an explosive amount of power. Now that you have an idea of how the deck plays, let's chat about power. This deck is a blend of control and goad strategies, which are both fairly slow and indicative of a bracket 2 strategy that incrementally builds up a critical mass to take out enemy life totals with. But it's just so much fun. One of my most played decks does something similar, though with a lot of extra red magic spice I'll expand on soon. In the big picture though, I'm happy to see Wizards expanding the range of strategies in precons to include more goad decks instead of relying on a more narrow set of strategies that we see all too frequently. A special thanks to all my amazing patrons. I started this channel to speak more to the game theory of Magic, which often takes up more time than YouTube is kind for, and the generous support of my patrons makes it possible to create the way that I want to. Patrons have access to cut content, extended discussions, guides, and resources for their favorite decks, as well as the occasional spell table game over on Discord. Consider supporting the channel today. And if you like this video, give it a share and subscribe for more so you don't miss any of these upcoming videos.